At 65, a man who was not my husband gazed at me, and in that moment he truly saw me, not merely as a wife to someone, not merely a silent figure lurking in the shadows. Yet here I stand, a woman, vibrant, deserving, and overlooked. What began as a simple exchange at a corporate gala erupted into a tempest of feelings I believed I had long buried. He never should have uttered those words, and I was never meant to experience what I felt. Yet, once you are revealed, there is no turning back from the reflection that haunts you. What unfolded next? You won't believe the twists and turns that night took me on. You are worthy of recognition. Those words reverberated with a haunting intensity, drowning out the sultry jazz that lingered in the air, overshadowing the carefree laughter that flowed from champagne-soaked lips. And somehow, their words cut deeper than anything my husband had uttered in years. Never did I imagine that one conversation could unravel the very core of my marriage. But there I was, ensconced in a private lounge at a corporate gala, as Edward Caldwell, my husband's boss, addressed me not as a mere spouse, but as a woman who had lingered in the shadows for far too long. That night unfolded with an air of normalcy, yet beneath the surface, an unsettling tension simmered, hinting at the chaos to come. I slipped into my navy blue dress, the very same one I donned for James's promotion dinner 2 years prior. He remained oblivious in that moment. He remained oblivious in this moment. To him, I was merely a shadow, a fleeting presence lost amidst the chaos of his world. But Edward, his gaze pierced through me, revealing every hidden truth. The gala unfolded at the Carlton Grand, a lavish hotel nestled in the heart of downtown, its excessive gold trim casting a cold, uninviting aura that contrasted sharply with the anticipation in the air. James found himself engulfed in a whirlwind of colleagues, laughter echoing around him, backpats that felt both warm and heavy, and the sharp bite of bourbon swirling in his glass. I found myself lingering by the cheese tray, feigning interest in conversations with women whose names slipped through my mind like shadows in the night. And then, Edward drew near, tall and impeccably dressed, with silver threading through his temples and a voice that dripped with allure. He leaned in ever so slightly, his gaze intense as he murmured, "Claire, may I steal you for a moment?" I blinked, taken aback. In the past, Edward Caldwell's words to me were limited to little more than a polite greeting. I trailed behind him, down a shadowy corridor, leaving the vibrant ballroom behind, entering a lounge bathed in the warm glow of amber sconces and the restless dance of flickering firelight. When a man like that requests a private conversation, you brace yourself for anything but trivial chatter. But what did he say? It felt as though my heart was on the brink of ceasing its beat. His gaze pierced through me, not igniting desire nor cloaked in pity, but rather enveloped in a profound understanding that left me momentarily breathless. "I need to talk to you," he said, his voice low and intense. "About James." In an instant, my posture transformed. "Is he in danger?" Edward's head moved in a slow, deliberate shake, a silent testament to the weight of his thoughts. "No. There's something crucial you need to hear." He leaned forward, tension coiling in the air, elbows digging into his knees. "For years, I've witnessed James push himself to the brink, pouring every ounce of his being into his work. And I've observed you, forever lingering in his shadow, perpetually in the periphery. Claire, when was the last time he really looked at you?" I opened my mouth, yet silence engulfed me. He continued, his voice low and filled with intensity. "You're a remarkable woman, yet I can't help but question whether he has ceased to observe." And in that moment, the very essence of my existence shattered. What Edward offered me was not love. It was something infinitely more perilous: clarity. I forced a smile, nodded, and uttered a vague response. All the while, my heart raced as if I had stumbled into a situation far beyond my control. As I stepped back into the ballroom, it struck me like a thunderclap. James didn't even acknowledge my absence. In that moment, a chilling realization washed over me. Edward had uncovered a truth I had desperately buried for years. The ride home was steeped in silence, an oppressive weight hanging in the air. James gripped the wheel tightly, his eyes locked on the road ahead, every muscle in his body tense with anticipation. I sat beside him in silence, the weight of Edward's words reverberating in my mind, drowning out the relentless hum of tires on asphalt. You are worthy of recognition. The feeling clung to me, relentless and inescapable. Not for the sake of romance. Yet, it resonated with an undeniable authenticity. James swallowed hard, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. Did you truly enjoy yourself tonight? I turned my gaze, a jolt of surprise coursing through me at the unexpected question. He posed the question each time, a ritual born of routine, devoid of genuine concern. I nodded, the weight of the moment pressing down on me. It was intriguing. He held back, the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. He never did he? In moments of stillness, the unspoken carries a weight that words can never hope to match. And tonight, his silence roared with unspoken words. Back home, the routine fell into place with an unsettling familiarity, each action echoing with the weight of unspoken emotions. James let his jacket slip from his shoulders, the fabric whispering against the air as it fell into place. He slowly opened his laptop, the weight of anticipation hanging in the air, stepped into his home office, the air thick with unspoken thoughts. I found myself in the kitchen, the air thick with unspoken words and lingering shadows. Isolated. I reached for the kettle, my hand trembling as I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the window, a haunting reminder of the turmoil within. I moved deliberately, each step heavy as I approached the hallway mirror. The woman gazing back at me was no mere stranger. Yet, an overwhelming sense of distance enveloped her. 65. Silver threads woven through my hair. Lines etched deep, silent witnesses to years devoid of joy. Yet, it was not the passage of time that stirred my unease. It was the haunting stillness in my eyes, as if I had surrendered to the weight of unfulfilled hopes. The deepest ache of solitude is the one that grips you even as you share a bed with another, night after night. I recalled the way, years ago, James would let his hand linger on my back while I cooked, a simple gesture that held so much unspoken weight. His lips would brush against my shoulder, a silent promise hanging in the air between us. How we'd sway in the kitchen, lost in the moment, as a song filled the air. When did that come to an end? When did I cease to feel its absence? I flicked the kitchen light off, plunging the room into darkness, and slipped into bed, the silence wrapping around me like a heavy blanket of solitude. He arrived much later, the weight of the moment hanging heavily in the air, left without a farewell. And it struck me, I couldn't recall the last moment he had. As dawn broke, he slipped away, his words barely a whisper, hinting at a client meeting that loomed ahead. I prepared my customary cup of tea, settling into my chair by the window, where the garden lay before me, a silent witness to the unfolding moments of my day. Yet, an unsettling shift lingered in the air, as if a door had creaked ajar within my very soul. Edward had not dared to flirt. He stood at the edge, but he hadn't crossed a line. All he had done was gaze upon me. He stood there, an unyielding distance between us, never once reaching out to bridge the gap. Yet his words struck a chord that resonated profoundly. A fragment of my soul I believed had perished long ago. By noon, I remained frozen in my seat, the weight of the moment pressing down on me. My tea had turned icy, a stark reminder of time slipping away. My thoughts lingered, unresolved and heavy. My hand trembled as I reached for my phone. My fingers trembled just above the screen, caught in a moment of uncertainty. "Please, don't do it," I urged under my breath, a tremor of fear lacing my words. Yet I did. "Edward," I typed, my fingers trembling over the keys. "Are you available for a coffee this week?" His response came in a mere 2 minutes, a heartbeat in the silence that followed. "What do you think about tomorrow?" And in that moment, the seed he planted started to flourish. The cafe lay in a heavy silence, a hidden refuge adorned with chipped ceramic mugs and sun-faded curtains that whispered secrets of the past. A hidden refuge, the sort of place that remains unseen until the moment you crave an escape from reality. I was the first to arrive. I always have. Years of arriving early had instilled in me the unsettling truth that waiting can either provide a moment for reflection or spiral into a whirlwind of anxiety. The bell above the door jingled, and in that moment, he appeared, Edward. This time, no suit to mask the truth. Only a wool coat draped over his shoulders, a navy sweater clinging to his form, and a softness in his gaze that hinted at unspoken depths. He appeared less as my husband's superior and more like a man burdened by his own hidden truths. His smile flickered upon seeing me, yet he lingered, hesitant to approach. He walked slowly, each step heavy with the weight of unspoken words, as if he knew this moment transcended the simple act of sharing coffee. It was a matter of truth, a revelation that hung heavy in the air. "Claire," he began, his voice low and heavy as he settled into his seat. "Thank you for coming." I offered a subtle nod, the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. "I had my doubts." He remained silent, the question hanging in the air, heavy with unspoken words. In a moment thick with unspoken words, they reached out, their voice a gentle probe into the depths of my soul. "How are you feeling, really?" My heart raced as I paused, uncertainty gripping me tightly, then released a slow, deliberate breath. "I have no idea. It feels as though I've been thrust into a reality that isn't my own. The most terrifying experience isn't the feeling of being lost. It's the shocking moment when you awaken to discover that decades have slipped away in a dreamlike haze." Edward's gaze bore into me, filled with an intensity that sent a shiver down my spine. "I never intended to leave you in such a state of uncertainty." "You didn't confuse me," I replied, my voice steady yet laced with an undercurrent of unspoken tension. "You brought it all back." "Of what, exactly?" I took a slow, deliberate sip of my coffee, feeling the warmth seep into my hands, the rich aroma swirling around me, heightening the moment. "That I am here." The silence that followed hung heavy in the air. It was revealed, burdened. Edward leaned in, his breath hitching in the charged silence. "Can I ask you something deeply personal?" I nodded, the weight of the moment pressing down on me. "What is it that you desire, Claire? Not in the role of a wife, not merely as an accessory to someone else, but as you." I fixed my gaze on the table, the weight of unspoken words hanging heavily in the air. I don't know." "That's a start," he said, his voice laced with an undercurrent of urgency. He had no intention of winning me over. He was desperately attempting to bring me back to the essence of who I truly am. With a trembling hand, he delved into the depths of his coat pocket, retrieving a crumpled napkin that seemed to hold secrets of its own. "It's peculiar, I understand. Yet last night I committed something to paper. There's something I need to share with you." He pushed it across the table, the air thick with unspoken words. I opened it with a deliberate slowness, each moment stretching into an eternity. Inside, in meticulous handwriting, a single line pierced through the silence. "The first step back to yourself is to admit you left." Tears burned at the corners of my eyes, yet I held back the flood within. "Not just yet." I carefully folded the napkin, slipping it into my purse with trembling fingers, and whispered, "Thank you." His smile flickered, a fleeting moment that held unspoken depths. "You are not bound to me in any way, Claire. If this brought you a sense of being understood, even if just for a fleeting moment, then I find solace in that." For the first time in years, a wave of liberation washed over me. I was no longer defined by the role of someone's wife. I felt as if I was truly myself. That evening, I chose not to wait for James's return. The candles remained unlit. The lasagna remained cold, untouched, a silent testament to the choices left unmade. I refused to be the woman who merely settled for everything feeling just fine. Instead, I found myself at the kitchen table, fingers tightly gripping a cup of tea that had long lost its warmth. Once more, the front door groaned as it slowly opened, a haunting sound that echoed through the stillness of the night. The sound of his keys clinking into the ceramic bowl by the entrance echoed through the silence, a stark reminder of his presence lingering in the air. "Claire," he called, his voice heavy with exhaustion. "In here," I replied, my voice unwavering, yet heavy with unspoken weight. This time I refused to wait for him to inquire about my feelings. I stood on the precipice of revelation, prepared to unleash the truth upon him, regardless of his desire to listen. He stepped inside, untied his tie with a deliberate slowness, and cast a fleeting glance my way, barely lasting half a second. With a heavy heart, they approached the fridge, each step laden with unspoken thoughts. "Dinner?" he inquired, his voice devoid of warmth. "I didn't cook tonight." He spun around, shock etched across his face. "Is everything all right?" I fixed my gaze on him, the air thick with unspoken words. "Absolutely not. Yet it has not been. For what feels like an eternity." His eyes widened in disbelief. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling with uncertainty, the weight of the moment hanging heavily in the air. "I'm exhausted, James. Of existing as a mere shadow. Of existing in the shadows." He appeared as though he had been struck, not by fury, but by a profound awakening. And perhaps that pain cut deeper. He lowered himself into the chair opposite me, his brow deeply furrowed, a storm brewing behind his eyes. "What is happening here? After years of relentless effort, after years of meticulously folding your shirts just the way you prefer, revisiting the echoes of your meetings, you laughed at your own jokes, oblivious to my presence, as if I were nothing." James cast his gaze downward, enveloped in a heavy silence. I inhaled deeply. "There's someone who brought me back to life. That I remain." His head jerked upward, a sudden surge of alertness coursing through him. "Who could it possibly be? Does it even matter?" I whispered, my voice barely breaking the silence. "This isn't about him. This is my story. I lost sight of who I truly am. And you forgot as well." At times, the most perilous entanglements are those you find within the depths of your own reflection. The instant it dawns on you that you have disappeared, the silence loomed between us, vast and suffocating, like an endless ocean. At last, James found his voice. "I had no idea you were feeling this way. I understand. That's the crux of it." He nodded slowly, his eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "What happens next?" I hesitated. Then the truth emerged, heavy and uncertain. "I don't know. Yet, deep down, I understand that I cannot continue to vanish into thin air." He swallowed with great difficulty. "Are you really going to walk away from me?" A heavy silence lingers, a more extended version. "I yearn to discover who I truly am. I'm torn between the two, with you or without you." The answer eludes me. That night, I lay awake, the space between us heavy with unspoken words. I found myself in the guest room, not driven by malice, but by an overwhelming need for distance. And for the first time in decades, the silence enveloped me, heavy with unspoken words and lingering emotions. It belonged to me. The following morning, I found myself once more facing the mirror. My reflection remained hauntingly the same, yet my gaze had. I witnessed a woman fiercely reclaiming her name. Her voice echoed through the silence, a haunting melody that stirred the depths of the soul. Her heart raced. I chose not to call Edward. Not just yet. This was never about him. It was all about me. If you're still here, we appreciate you journeying with us through a narrative that may not have shouted, but resonated with profound authenticity. Not every heartbreak erupts with a deafening crash. Some silently disintegrate in the shadows, hidden from the world. Not every betrayal reveals itself through the guise of a lover. At times, it manifests in the haunting, gradual erasure of our very essence. If this story ignited a spark within you, even a faint echo, we urge you to like, subscribe, and pour out your thoughts below. Your comments are the foundation of a realm where truth reigns, feelings are deeply examined, and narratives venture into uncharted territories. Until we meet again in the next video. And keep in mind, even in moments of feeling invisible, your existence holds profound significance. Choosing yourself is an act of courage, not selfishness. That is something truly sacred. Hold on to your courage. Remain receptive, and remain by our side.